Welcome to another episode of GlideChat. My name is Michael Lombardo. With me is Guillaume from 3CLogic. Guillaume, what's up, man?
Hey, Mike, what's up? Mayor of ServiceNow.
Oh, the mayor of ServiceNow. That's what I call me.
Have you been promoted?
I've been promoted. Yes. Yes. Self-promotion. It's great. Should try it. Okay. Gee, thanks for joining me today. And first of all, I just want to start off by saying thank you for the partnership over the years. It's been exciting to watch each other grow. I think we've always been kind of rooting for each other. And even though you work with a lot of different partners, I'll allow it. It's okay. I won't hold that against you. But why don't you start off by telling us a little bit of, for those who may not know, what is 3CLogic?
Yeah. So look, we're in some cases, I joke we're within the ServiceNow community, we're the best kept secret, although it's becoming increasingly hard to maintain it that way. Right. Yeah. And you're right. We grew up together, right? We've seen almost a decade, right? We knew and thought of ServiceNow as cool before everybody else did. But to your question about what 3CLogic is, we're an ISV. We're a technology partner of ServiceNow, built on Amazon Cloud. Our speciality is really, well, you would put us in the contact center space, for lack of a better, grouping. Really, we do everything that's voice and SMS enablement of ServiceNow. We're our own telephony stack. We have everything from IVR and call queuing and so forth, but we do it with a very ServiceNow centric approach. Simply because we have our mindset or our view is a little bit different than most traditional contact center platforms. We don't want to be the system of record. We imagine that agents, administrators and supervisors of those service desk teams, it could be patient serving, could be citizen services, could be customer facing employee HR services, doesn't really matter, that those teams, they want their agents to operate where the work is happening, right? And that's a platform like ServiceNow. So we've architected ourselves to be an extension of the ServiceNow platform without really competing with any of its capabilities.
Yeah, no, that's great. And like the way I've always looked at it is, just like you said, you sit on top of ServiceNow, and at the end of the day, you're saving time for the agents, right? Reducing call wait times. Is that accurate?
It's not wrong, and I would argue it goes a step further. Look, every organization right now has an obsession with going to the cloud, rightfully so.
Yep.
It's more flexible. You can do more there. That's fine. But the fact is that, you look at the contact center space, you look at sales, you look at service, right? There's platforms for all of those things. And so even if they're in the cloud, as an organization, you're probably using a little bit of everything. And so you're still swivel chairing between platforms. You actually haven't addressed the siloed, environment that most enterprise find themselves in, where they have too many platforms, most of them overlapping with each other. And really, if you do it right and you're able to create one single technology stack and you start with a foundation like ServiceNow, right? And maybe it's pulling from other areas, but it ends up being sort of your single system of truth from which you then operate from. Then you can layer on use cases like our own contact center, voice, SMS capabilities, and so forth. And so you do solve for the agent. You do lower call times. You also do call deflection, right? You can push people towards digital channels. You can, deflect mundane call inquiries. Like, does a password reset request, does it really need to go to a live agent? Yeah. And you afford the organization the luxury to spend more time serving customers that you still need to call because their inquiry is time sensitive, complex.
Yep.
Now that's the agent side of the equation, but you also solve for the administration, right? Supervisors don't want, they have to report to people, what are our metrics? How are we performing? Mm-hmm. If all that data, call data is in one place, chat data is in another, case and ticket management is in another, they're spending their time creating Excel sheets instead of actually spending their time, understanding quickly what the data reveals and then, responding in kind. They also want to be able to do this stuff without having to rely on other IT or technical resources, right? So what we solve for is just like ServiceNow. We've basically simplified and digitized the ability to create contact center workflows the same way you create chat or virtual agent designer experiences without having to have a telecom background. Now you can focus on the experience and work backwards.
Oh, that's awesome. And can you give, like, I think what I'm seeing, obviously we're seeing like crazy kind of economic landscape right now. You know, a lot of companies laying off, unfortunately having to do reductions in workforce. And, you know, everyone's asking those questions right now is how can we do more with less, right? So what a topic that always comes up is incident deflection, is call deflection. Could you give maybe like an example around that of like what, like how 3CLogic would help with a call deflection? Just a real, just any use case that you may have. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I'll give you two short ones, right?
Okay, cool.
So State of Delaware.
Yep.
You know, I know.
I'm familiar with them.
You're familiar with them, mutual customer of ours. Well, here's their story from the contact center side of the equation, right? So they platformed on ServiceNow. It's their insurance and benefits and claims department. During COVID, they were tasked with distributing, you know, funds and also receiving claim requests as well as receiving fraud requests.
Yep.
They went from getting 120,000 calls a year to 190,000 calls a month.
Wow.
It's a lot, right? Well, it was all going into an inbox, a voicemail inbox, because the overflow, that's where it was going. And then you literally had a person who was listening to the voicemail, transcribing it and putting it into a ServiceNow ticket, then assigning it out. And the influx was coming in faster than they could bail the water out, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were able to automate all that in that, hey, we'll transcribe the voicemail. We'll auto create a task in ServiceNow, a ticket. Wow. We're going to assign it, you know, ServiceNow business rules are going to assign it to a case agent. And hey, you know, let's allow the case agent to make a call directly out of ServiceNow, have that call recorded and historically stored in ServiceNow, so you have that context. And all of a sudden, they were able to scale their operations without having to increase headcount. Wow. I'll give you another example, Cleveland Clinic.
Yep.
In their case, you know, they were getting calls about everything from a password reset to things that were more time sensitive, right? Yep. You know, when they deployed ServiceNow and on top of it with 3CLogic, they were able to say, hey, when there's an outage, the ERP system is down. I'm making it up, right?
Yep.
Why don't we automatically notify incoming callers, hey, the ERP system is down. In fact, if you're calling from this specific
hang up.
Yeah,
we already know.
We already know, but I'll do you a favor. Yeah. I'll create a child ticket. I'll send you an SMS link. You can follow the progress there. And now you don't have 5,000 people waiting to tell you something you already know. Yep. And you make room for number 5,001 who's calling about something completely
different. Real, especially in healthcare. You know, this patient care compromise, right? And we don't need people that calling about an outage that we already know about to hog up those phone lines, right? So, I mean, that could actually result in save lives. I know it sounds a little.
No, it's true.
It's the truth, because that
healthcare also saves money. I mean,
yep.
Cleveland Clinic, since working with us, has actually acquired other hospital organizations.
Yep.
And the interesting fact is that they've done so without having to increase the size of their service center.
Yeah.
That's the level of efficiency that a combination of ServiceNow and 3CLogic brings.
That's amazing. Yeah. And you know, it's pretty interesting that the transcribing an incident. I never really thought of that even being a use case, because when you transcribe them into incidents, you could have somebody just sitting behind the scenes, not getting bogged down with the back and forth verbally, right? Just getting right to the root cause of the problem. If they need to reset a password, grant access, right? They can do that behind the scenes, close the incident, and that can be all handled through, you know, systematic emails, right? Like just auto closing, auto assigning, auto completing tasks without that human intervention. That's amazing. So you guys are like the ServiceNow essentially, right? That automation, that amazing workflow for the phones, right? For everything that ServiceNow kind of isn't, right?
I mean, look, ServiceNow has its digital channels. You've got Knowledge Portal, you've got live agent chat, virtual agent. In fact, we just voice enabled virtual agents. So you could take.
I heard about that.
You could take virtual agent topics, and if someone calls about a topic you've already built in virtual agent, we can actually speech enable that entire experience. Wow, that's a whole nother. That's an example of where we're headed and where our mindset is. But, you know, again, the real thing at the end of the day is we're not advocating. We don't believe that calls are going to go to zero ever. Right. We simply believe that not everything should be a call. Right.
Yeah.
If you do a good job with the help of, for example, what you guys do at optimizing your digital experiences and addressing the mundane and automating things that, you know, shouldn't require human intervention. What you've afforded yourself is the luxury to now give yourself and your service desk and your team the time to actually create a human connection and really be able to have enough time to solve a problem that's complex without feeling under the gun as like, hey, I got to handle 100 calls a day, otherwise I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, the KPIs we're measuring traditionally are no longer the right KPIs, right? It shouldn't be how many calls did you handle in one day.
Yeah.
It should be how well did you handle those conversations today.
Yep. And how quickly we're able to get people what they needed and back to work, right? That's the goal, focusing on more important tasks.
And that goes back to leveraging ServiceNow as a system of record. If whatever's in ServiceNow, if that context can be used in real time, hey, Mike, I see you're calling. I understand you have an open case, or I saw that the last thing you searched on Knowledge Portal was my Excel is crashing. Is that why you're calling about? Let me get you to a Microsoft specialist right away. That perception of personalized experiences and efficiency is what's going to keep me, if I'm a customer, an ongoing customer.
Yep. Or an employee, just, to have the best experience. Right. And people demand it now, right? Our customers are demanding, our employees are demanding it. We want to get out of the 80s and 90s support models, right? For organizations. And that's amazing. So gee, like, what's the future? Like, what's the, I don't know, I want to say end game, but like, what's the goal of you and 3CLogic, and what's the future look like?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be a continuation of what we're doing, but going further, right? I mean, you look at most organizations, you're talking about the 80s and the 90s. Unfortunately, they're still, largely stuck there because they actually don't know that they're, they look at their options as static, and they don't realize that there are other new approaches that can get them to where they want to be faster, and perhaps circumventing what they thought the path was going to be, right? Like they think going to cloud, that's one move. But I at the end of the day, our goal is to make life easier. So when you talk about what's 3CLogic next, well, we've just finished voice enabling ServiceNow. We do, call transcriptions and so forth into ServiceNow. They're moving towards, things like sentiment analysis. They're going to be doing it for chat, is my understanding. Why can't it necessarily be exposed to other channels, including those that we solve for, right? So, I think expanding or meeting the expansion that ServiceNow is driving outside of just IT service management, but going into customer service management, going into employee workflows and experiences, going to patient care, public sector, that you're going to see that we're going to be able to take a lot of what we learned and done over the years and start catering it, at an industry specific level, right? Much like service.
Am I talking to Bill McDermott, or what's going on here?
No, I mean, well, look, I'm not gonna. If it ain't broke, right, don't fix it.
It's smart. It's smart. No,
I think they're on the right path.
Yeah, industry specific. I mean, that's. I think that's where. I mean, that's where everybody's going, right? Mm-hmm. Because yes, we have these master problems across the industry, all of customer support, all of employee support, but then you have specific challenges in healthcare, specific challenges in government, and same thing like on our side of implementing ServiceNow efficiently, right? Like, we have so much visibility and experience with the nuances of different industries.
That's right.
Just like you, right? Like, you learn so much, the state of Delaware, that there's a lot of, personalized things that work better for state and local government that you notice than healthcare, right? Again, talk about patient care being compromised and things like that. Like, so if you can tailor that solution driven and more day one out of the box, I mean, that's what ServiceNow is exactly trying to do.
Well, right? If you're gonna offer the idea of being able to provide tailored customer experiences, then that starts with tailoring
industry,
the technology and the stack on which you're going to build it on, right?
Yep.
So you got to have the right tools, and we consider ourselves one of them, but not absolute, right? ServiceNow is a big piece of that equation, which is why we partner with the likes of you guys. Is that you have to have an appreciation, you have to have learned right? Our company, 3CLogic, as well as GlideFast, to our earlier, opening, we've been around long enough and we've seen enough that it's not just technology, but also the consulting aspect. Like, I've seen these use cases play out. Here are the best practices, and here's how you want to move forward. Because if the foundation is not stable, the outcome won't last very long, right? It won't scale, or it just won't have a shelf life that's going to go far enough that you're not stuck redoing it 2 years down the road, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So that's part of what we bring to the table is really the joint experiences between our two organizations.
Yeah,
and saying, look, I've seen this play out before, right? I also know where the market is going, and to be honest, the issue has never been the people, right? Agents and so forth, they want to help, right? It's too bad they're the ones getting yelled at. Typically, it's been a failure at the technology and implementation layer.
100% agree. Right, the structure needs to be there, and the environment needs to be there for those agents to succeed.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Gee, how can our audience reach out to you and get maybe a demo of 3CLogic? What would be the best way to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we've created this really complicated email. It's just ServiceNow@3CLogic.com.
I love it.
It's tough, right? So you can reach us there. You can also do info@3CLogic.com. One way or another, either one, we'll be able to reach out, and it's an opportunity. We'll want to learn about what they're doing today, and then start with an idea of here's what the art of the possible looks like. And only once they understand what's possible can we actually have a meaningful conversation in terms of what's going to be value driving for them up front and down the road. And that's where our collaboration comes with you guys, right? We don't deploy ServiceNow. We don't implement ServiceNow. We know the environment quite well. We'll integrate with what you've got, but then we'd work side by side with your group, right? In terms of making sure we take a look at the whole picture, because contact center is just a piece of the overall equation. It's not the end state.
Absolutely. And I think your most successful customers have used GlideFast and 3C together, right?
Look, we share a lot of customers organically, by default, directly, and so forth. So I think obviously we have some very smart customers in who they choose.
That's awesome. Gee, thanks for joining me on GlideChat, and I appreciate all the support and partnership and friendship over the years. And I look forward to many more, and wish you and Dennis all the success.
Right back at you, Mike.